We're live again.
We're live again.
Alright, sounds good. Okay, welcome to the another episode of Kava Podcast. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name is Vai Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
I am Samoan and Tokelauan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Windsor, California,
Yep.
and I am 24 years old.
Alright, sounds good. You're from Windsor.
From Windsor? Oh yeah, from Windsor, California. Okay.
Any signs from Windsor?
Yeah.
Dubs.
Dubs. Sorry, Dubtown. Okay.
Alright, sounds good, alright. Yeah, let's get right into it. How did you grow up?
So Windsor is like a really small town. It's in Sonoma County, so it's like 15 minutes north of Santa Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in like a predominantly white area.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all white people. But I had a good childhood. I was raised, so I have a brother, but he, from my dad, and he was raised in Oahu. Both my parents are from Oahu,
Mm-hmm.
and they met over here in California, and that's why they raised me.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted me to have more opportunities, but yeah, so they raised me in Santa Rosa. I was born there first, and then we ended up moving to Windsor. And so I was raised as an only child because my brother still lived in Oahu.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it was pretty quiet. Like, I had my cousins and everything, but I mean, I don't know. Like, my parents, we ended up moving to Windsor because my grandma lived in Windsor as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived next door to my cousin. So we were always like, kind of like my parents weren't around, so my grandma kind of raised us, me and all my cousins. So we consider each other like siblings. But whenever I wasn't around them, it was just me. So it was kind of lonely. But my parents put me into like a lot of different activities and stuff, sports.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like in middle school, I was like in the band and stuff like that.
What'd you play?
I played flute for 3 years. Yeah, it was cool. And then when I was 6, they tried to put me in like karate or something. I did not like it. It was awful. And then I was in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the YMCA.
Yeah.
And then I also did softball
Yeah.
like when I was like 9 years old. And then basketball was just the one that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I started in YMCA, and then I played like our Catholic league because I was like the only local league. And then by the time I hit like 6th grade, they started putting me into travel teams. So throughout like middle school and high school, I was just constantly traveling. Like, my parents paid and put me through just like a bunch of different travel teams. Like, I remember one year I was in like 3 different travel teams. So we were just going all over the place from like the Bay, and we went to San Diego. We were just all over the place traveling for basketball. So
That must be like a great experience.
oh, it was so fun to be able, because you're traveling and you're hooping with your best friends, and
That's a life right there.
yeah, like you have no other worries. So that was cool. High school was cool. I don't know. I didn't really have. I mean, I love to write outside of basketball. I loved writing stories. I did journalism, so I wrote for the school newspaper, things like that. I was in choir. I like singing, so it's really fun. And then I think that in high school, I don't know, I feel like my identity was mostly basketball.
Yeah.
Just because like I was on varsity all 4 years, and it was just traveling, like I said, just playing basketball year round. So fall, it would be fall ball, and like prepping for regular season, have regular season, and then once it's like February, you're doing traveling. So I'll be on like 2 teams, and then summer will be summer league, and you'd be like training on summer, and then it's just so it's nonstop for like 4 years. So that was kind of what like I did with my time.
And you were on varsity for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Ballin'.
Yes, it was cool. Honestly, it was a good experience.
Yeah.
Like my parents would support me through everything. So my freshman year, my dad was like, I hope you know that you're not going to get no playing time your freshman year. Like, because, you're so used to just starting. And like, but he was like encouraging me to go for varsity my freshman year, only because like our coach was so like, his IQ was so good that he was like, you'll be ahead of the game and like ahead of everybody under you. Like, that's your age. That's going to be on JV. So it's like, at least by the time you hit junior year, like you'll be so sound with your IQ and like just knowing the court and stuff like that. So that's why I just chose to do that. I just ate it. I was like, whatever. I'm going to take like the small minutes I get, and then by the time I hit sophomore year, it was good. So it was cool.
Yeah.
And then, let's think here. yeah, I don't know. Like that was pretty much all I did throughout high school. So it was kind of boring. Like I didn't really party much and like go places. It was just always sports. But it's crazy because it's like my parents didn't really raise me like the conventional way.
Yeah.
So like
conventional,
like in a sense, like in like a traditional way, like Fa'a Samoa,
okay,
like
gotcha.
because my parents, so like I said, were both raised in Oahu, so they were raised more so like local style, like they were around different cultures all the time. Mm-hmm. So when they went to raise me, they kind of, I mean, my mom was probably more traditional, like her family was very strict, never let her go anywhere, church every Sunday. Mm-hmm. But then when they raised me, it was just like I had the freedom to do things. Yeah. But I didn't necessarily do it just because I was always doing basketball. Yeah. But, yeah, like we went to church and it was just pretty simple, I guess. Not really anything too crazy. And then, yeah.
Did you did you experience anything like because your parents grew up that way, like as far as feeling like that you're not Samoan enough or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah? Absolutely. It's like, so I think at a young age I started to realize that because I don't know, I'm already, like, my parents, when they raised me, they kind of encouraged me to be myself, mm-hmm. be different, mm-hmm. So, I don't know, I was weird, like, people thought, I mean, even my white friends thought I was weird, I just did whatever I wanted, I listened to oldies, like, I dressed in, like, weird, like, my mom got me those Avril Lavigne gloves, and I wear them up to my arms, like, just, I was just so weird, so, I think, even then, like, when we'd visit my family in, like, Oahu, or, like, just my other family who, you know, because they're, I mean, in the Bay, like my family in the Bay, mm-hmm. there's more polys over there, so you guys are at least around each other, right? Yeah. Whereas, like, where I'm from, I mean, I have, like, my immediate family, but that's it. I don't have nobody else, so.
It's all Balangi.
Yeah, so whenever I'd see my family, they're, oh, you're a Balangi girl, like, totally, oh, she's whitewashed, and things like that. So I think me being weird, but then also the fact that, like, my parents didn't raise me in a traditional way just made it, like, oh, she's whitewashed, she's this, she's that. So that was always something I experienced, but I didn't let it weigh me down just because.
Did you when you heard that for the first time when you were younger, like did it kind of like make you feel some type of way?
Oh yeah, it definitely made me sad because I just felt like, I don't know, like I don't have, because I grew up around all white people, like I didn't feel like completely in with them. Yeah. But then at the same time, I didn't feel completely in with my own people. So it's almost like, you know how like Afakasis are like half white, half, like, you know, they feel like they don't really know, like they're stuck in the middle. That's how I felt, but it was like both my parents were Samoan. Yeah. And it was just mainly because of the way I was raised and like my personality, I guess. So. Yeah, you just does that make sense?
Yeah. So you just felt like you never found a place to identify yourself at.
Right, exactly.
Because you're not hot enough for the poly, for someone, but you're not white enough for the white.
Have you seen Selena, the movie? You're not Mexican enough for the Mexicans.
But American enough for the Americans. So you're just stuck in the middle of no man's land.
Exactly.
And you're just by yourself.
So you're constantly feeling like, okay, and it's just, and it, you know, like I said, like my mom, she raised me, like we were around that, like my grandma raised me, and my grandma's from Mauna'u, so like I grew up around the language, around, you know, we ate the food, we went to the gatherings, we'd go to Samoan church like every once in a while, but it wasn't like completely traditional. So it just hurts because it's like I do experience the same things you guys like they would experience, but just not to like the level that other people were, you know. So it just makes you feel completely invalidated as, you know, within your ethnicity, and it sucks because it's being done by your own people. So it's like, but I grew to kind of, I think that's where basketball came in, because that's where I started to like identify myself with, right? So, yeah, I think that was definitely something that I kind of struggled with growing up, especially in high school, because I had a lot, like we'd go and visit, we'd have family reunions, and they'd be like, oh, it's the white girl, and it's just like okay, I'll go with a joke, but like after a while, it just gets kind of annoying. Yeah. You know, so.
Were you able to connect with some of them, or?
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. It's like, it wasn't like something that was like, kind of, that would like tear a relationship apart, but it was just like an old, like, you know, subconsciously you're like, if you hear it enough, it's like, it starts to bother you.
Yeah, it's just bothering you.
But no, I always get along with my cousins and stuff like that, but that's always something that, I think especially just because when you're all around a lot of white people and you're not around your culture, like, I don't know my language. I'm actually learning the language right now. I can understand it. Well, my mom speaks it like I completely, but I can't speak it. So, especially when you don't know the language, I don't know. For me, I just always felt very insecure about it. But I've learned to kind of move past that because I feel that just because like you as an individual don't know as much as the next person, like it doesn't invalidate you being like, or me being a Samoan girl, you know what I mean? Like just because I don't really know the culture as much as the next girl or the next person does, like I'm still Samoan, I'm still poly, so yeah. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel I always, because I know I have a lot of cousins, Hafakasi, or they didn't grow up in Tonga, or they don't know the culture. I always tell them, like, it's your heritage, their heritage, like, it's your biology. Like,
exactly.
You're always going to be Samoan just because you don't know the language.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not Samoan. You are Samoan.
I think it took me a long time to realize that, though. Like, just because you don't know something, like, it doesn't take away from your heritage, like you just said. So, but it took me a long time to understand that. Like,
the way I see it is like it's all about pride. If you're proud of who you are, like, just like you're proud of yourself, of your own self. The same thing with your culture. If you're proud of your culture, you don't have to know the language of the culture itself. Yeah, to like validate who you are, you know. Because I know people who were born in the culture, but they don't, they're not, they're ashamed of being poly.
Oh really?
Yeah,
really?
Some people that grew up here.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, right. So it's like for me, it's like, if you're proud of who you are, that's good. All right, so what do you think was like the hardest thing you experienced
growing up? Like in high school or just like in general, like?
Well, yeah, in general.
In general, I would probably say just like my self-confidence, like, there are just like so many different avenues that we can go through this. So basically what I just talked about with like feeling kind of like I wasn't really enough because I didn't know about my culture. I think another thing that bothered me growing up was like me being like around so many white people and not knowing my own, how do I explain this? Like I feel like when you're around a lot of white people and you don't have anybody to relate to, it just make like, so for example, like in pop culture, like all you see, I mean we know this with the girls all the time, but like all you see in pop culture is white. Like that's kind of like the rule of thumb. Yeah. So I think that because I was also growing up, like how polys like we're built a little bit bigger, you know? Yeah. So I think that growing up, like I had a bunch of skinny friends and being like kind of like the bigger girl. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't like big, but like compared to my white friends, I just like wasn't, my image was not the same. Yeah. But when I was growing up, I just had a lot of body issues because of that. Yeah. So I always felt like very insecure with that. I don't know, I just felt like I was kind of an oddball. So all of those things in general, like feeling not enough because of my culture, feeling weird because I had different interests, feeling like having issues with my body image and things like that, it just kind of messed with my self-esteem in a sense where like my self-talk was very bad. Like how do I explain this? Like, I don't know, like I would just have very bad self-talk. That's all I can really say. Yeah. So it was kind of that, like the reason why basketball helped me so much was because I kind of found my identity within that. But I think that by the time I hit college, so I played in JC, and then I got to play at a D2 at CSU Monterey Bay. So I realized toward my last season that I pretty much throughout like my whole life had been associating my self-worth with basketball. So once it was coming to an end, I was like, oh my god, like what's gonna happen? I can relate to that. And I know I saw that in your video when you're talking about like how as polys, like we kind of associate, like we think that the only thing we're good at is sports, right? Yeah. So I like totally related to that because like I had all these like different self-esteem issues growing up. Basketball was kind of the band-aid. So then by the time I realized it was going to end my senior year, I like, oh my god, my mental health was just like, my anxiety went up, like it was just so bad to the point where I was like seriously depressed, you know? Because in my head I was like, okay, well what am I supposed to do when basketball's over? I I've been associating my value with like my successes and like everything that I've built. Yeah. So it was just like shocking. And I think that that's why, I don't know, my video, I don't know if you saw it, it's like about the mental health, but I talked about that, like, that was like a hard year for me, because that was my last year, my senior season. So, yeah, I just didn't know what to do at that point, because I was like, damn, like, what am I good at? Whereas, like, I have so many talents, but in my head, like, when you're in your own head like that, you just can't see outside of it.
And to be fair to you, like, you've been living that way for, like, a long time.
Right.
You know, for me, the same thing with me, like, you know, after I was done playing football, I came home and I just stayed home and lived in my room for, like, 6 months, because, like, I couldn't believe it's over.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to go out there, find a job. I just, like, I can't, like, because my whole dream was to, like,
exactly.
But then I had to wake up one day and realize the reality. Look, this is what it is. It's over. I gotta move on in my life.
I think your video, like, when you put that video up, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally relate to that, because, and that's when I had to I had to decipher, like, okay, we need to fix this, because your value isn't contingent on, like, your successes in the sport you've been playing for the last 15 years. So I really had to, because that year was like what you just said, I would not get out of bed. It was so bad to the point I was just so depressed, and like I just made some bad habits. Like, I was drinking too much. I was hanging out with the wrong people. I was eating like crap. I wasn't drinking no water. Like,
you give me flashbacks right now.
I was getting flashbacks. Okay, like,
I'm getting flashbacks right now.
It was so toxic. And it just got to the point, like, my parents were just, and like I said, like, my parents, they completely, they invite that, where you're just kind of, like, they told me one day, they were like, honestly, Vi, like, we can identify that you are in an awful place right now, and they were telling me, they're like, it's okay, like, you can finish your season off and just take a year off from school and, like, get some therapy and get, just kind of take a break and
find yourself.
Find yourself. Step back, chill,
figure out what you want to do.
Exactly, because it was just so bad. It was really bad. Like, how much of a difference, like, night and day, from, like, when I was younger to that point in time. I was just crying all the time. It was just, so my parents, they gave me that opportunity, and for me, I've always considered myself more independent, so I kind of gave them a little pushback at first, because I was like, no, I can finish the season through, and at that point I couldn't even play, though, because I was injured, so I was like, and that made me even more mad, so I was just like, nothing was falling my way, but my parents kept telling me, they're like, just come home, Vi, like, it's okay, you can come home, get some counseling, get like a little side job, just chill at home, and then you can come back for school in like a year, like maybe a semester. So after a while, like, I took some time, and I was probably like within 2 weeks, I had my senior game, and I was injured, so I couldn't even play, so it was just like the worst thing ever. Left like the worst taste in my mouth. It was just awful. But so I did that, and then I took 2 weeks, and going into school, I was like, I'm gonna go to school, it's gonna be fine. And then I was like, Mom, can I come home? I need to come home, please. So we ended up moving me back, and I just I took, like, at first I was gonna take a semester off, but then I took, like, the whole year, and it was amazing. Like, I got therapy, and I think that's why I appreciate my parents so much, is because, like, they've always given me room to, like, be myself, but also, like, open up to them and just be like, hey, like, I'm not good right now. So it was cool. Another thing I was going to say earlier that I forgot to mention about my parents is that, like, when they raised me, like, especially when I was at JC, because I still lived at home when I was at JC. So when they had me, when I was living there, I was partying, like, all the time. I was having, because they gave me room to do that, right? They gave me the freedom to do that, and they would, like, pick me up from, like, going to the parties and stuff.
Your parents are hella cool.
See, that's what I was going to talk about, is that, like, that's another reason why I feel like so many, like, I had family in Hawaii too. They're like, oh, she's whitewashed, she's this, she's that, she's a party girl, and I feel like I got judged so much because my parents kind of gave me that freedom, right? But my parents always told me, like, because my mom experienced just that overall strictness growing up, she wanted me to branch out and, like, live my life, so I think that that was just, like, a good addition to my life, of just having parents that were so free to, like, let me do that. And live my life. But at the same time, there was also a strictness. Like, it wasn't just like I was running around.
Oh, no, yeah. It's like we'll keep
it free. It's like a happy medium.
It's like be free, but be responsible.
Exactly. So it's like, I think they still have that strictness though, because even with my friends, like I'd be like, oh, I gotta go home. They'd be like, why? I'm like, I gotta go to church with my parents in the morning. It'd be like 2 a.m. at like a party Saturday night, and they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I gotta go. So like, I feel like to all my Palangi friends, they're like, Vai's parents are way too strict. But then if you look at like another Samoan person, they'd be like, oh, her parents just let her do whatever she wants. But I feel like I'm like right in the middle. So
I feel like Palangi's got too much freedom.
Yeah, they got too much freedom.
Some of the things that bother me to say.
Yeah.
Like, yo.
Whoa.
Yo, bro.
But yeah, so my parents were really cool about that. That's why, I don't know, I love my parents. They give me freedom, and they were just so accepting when I went through that whole experience. And they told me, they're like, you know, your value isn't based on this, like, on basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, find something within yourself that you can branch out of basketball and, like, you know, do, and find your confidence, and, you know, just like work on your confidence in general. So that's what I did. And it was a good year, so
it sounds like you guys have a great relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Open relationship.
Very close to my parents.
I know. That's good, because that's something I kind of noticed, like, a lot of polys don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, too.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'm, like, so thankful, because I have family that has completely, like, my mom, she, like I said, she completely experienced that, where she just felt like she couldn't open up to anybody, and she couldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So my parents have always, like, left the door open for me to talk to them. They've always left the door open for me to be myself. As weird as I think I am, my mom always like, you are so weird, but okay, just live your life. Like, as long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, like, it's okay. But yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you see? I mean, as far as the other family members, like, do you have cousins or like nieces, like, do you go through the same thing where they have like a strict?
Yeah. And so, like, the best, I think it's like, it's so hard, because I feel like it's hard. Like, I have little cousins who've come to me for advice.
Yeah.
And for me, it's difficult, because, like I said, like, my life was so different. My parents were so, we navigated life so differently, like, in comparison to, you know, my family members. But I always leave the door open to my younger cousins to talk to me if they need a vent and things like that, because, I mean, I can't imagine not being able to talk to your parents, because I do, you know, I have a couple little cousins that, like, they go through, you know, depression and things like that, and they feel like they can't talk to their parents because, you know, there's that stigma with mental health where it's not valid or whatever the case may be. So, yeah. Okay.
So, you know, your parents helped you through that stage of your life. So when you took that time off, what was like the biggest thing you learned about yourself?
About myself.
Yeah, when you took that time off, you know, figure out you.
So I think I kind of touched on it earlier, but just like, I think that one of the biggest things was that I did base my value on basketball. Like, I completely made my identity an athlete. And I understood at that point, like, oh my goodness, you know, I need to separate myself, because that's not the only thing that I am.
Yeah.
There's like, so.
How did you do that? How did you separate yourself and finally realize, like, okay,
I kind of branched out and, like, just tried different things, but I think it's like, it was more so intertwined with, like, my self-talk, with the way that I addressed myself. Like, I was like, you're nothing, like, you're not good at anything else. Like, you're the only thing you are as an athlete. So I think that I started there with my self-talk, and I just told myself, you know, like, you're capable. I know this sounds like really cheesy, but I do like affirmations and stuff like that.
No, that's real. It works.
They work. Yeah. They work. And so, you know, because my dad raised me on that kind of stuff. Like, he, like, had me listen. I don't know if you know, like Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
So my dad would make me listen to those tapes when I was a kid. He'd drive me to school, and he's like, listen to this. Like, so I learned about those at a young age. So when I was a kid, my dad made me do affirmations. But revisiting that because this was like when I was 22. So revisiting that and just telling me, you know, like, you're more than basketball. Like, I started to tell myself that first, and then at the same time I was kind of like, I was getting therapy, I was trying different hobbies, you know, like, I was a barista, you know, I was like skating, I was just doing different things, you know, and I cut some toxic people off that were from my basketball team. And I just try to move from there. But I think that it all started with my self-talk. Just telling myself every day, like, you're more than basketball, and you know you have more to your character and your being than basketball. So yeah. I think that
no, that's true. No.
I had to think about that for a second.
No, I always tell people, like, I do that myself. Like, I constantly feed myself. Like, I listen to a lot of motivation videos. And
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, podcasting. But then I was like, when times get tough, I always try to, like, rewire my brain. Okay, you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's like the number one thing that I would say to, like, because I know a lot of cousins and family, and they have issues with, like, you know, self-image and things like that, and confidence levels, and just feeling like they're, I don't know, like they matter and that they're enough.
Yeah.
I think that self-talk has a lot to do with it. I do notice that, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. So, I don't know, like if you eat bad things every single day, you eat like unhealthy food every day, you don't drink water, you're not going to rest, that's obviously going to manifest, and you're probably not going to be the healthiest person physically, and I think that that's the same thing with your mind. So if you're feeding your mind crap every single day, negativity, and not even just that, like allowing people to treat you a certain way, allowing yourself to treat yourself a certain way, just putting yourself in toxic situations and circumstances, I think that that's gonna like kind of manifest into your life where you're gonna be in toxicity, but like that's gonna be around you. So I think that if you feed yourself positive things and like try to surround yourself around more positive circumstances and people, then that'll manifest into the rest of your life. So
okay, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I know you just talked about you took some time off, trying to figure out yourself, right? You're trying to figure out identity. You have to face the facts that you have to realize that basketball was no longer be part of your identity. You have to figure out something else. So I want to ask you, who are you now, today?
Who am I
Who's Vai today? Comparing, because you're no longer the old Vai.
Yeah, right.
Right, so you have to re-identify yourself and find yourself.
That's such a good question.
So who are you today?
I would say there's so many things I could say. I think I'm definitely a confident person. I'm more confident. I feel that because I give off that confidence and love for myself, it like manifests to other people because I'm better able to give love to the people around me and things like that. I am adventurous. Let me think here. I feel that I'm just like more open to, and it ties in with confidence too, but I'm just more open to like try different things and like put myself out there because I don't know, I just limited myself for such a long time to that like specific identity that like I didn't branch out and do different things and like, you know, go with different people and just put myself out there, you know? So I feel like I'm just more of an open-minded person and more confident and yeah, I guess.
So what certain things did you find out by yourself that you know, sometimes when you go through a transformation you kind of figure out things, you find out things about yourself that you never knew that you could do or become,
right?
So is there something part of yourself now that you felt like that was never part of you before, but now it's like you found out through your journey?
I think that I like limited myself a lot. Like I just told myself that I couldn't do things, whether that was like just because of my low self-esteem or, you know, other people telling me that I couldn't do it. Yeah. But I feel like now I just kind of have this like F it mood where I'm like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. I mean, I've always had kind of like an element of that to myself, but I think that now it's just elevated up to this point. So,
so what are those things that you started doing that you felt like that you didn't do before because you had low self-esteem, and now you're doing it because you have self-esteem? So
I don't know if I mentioned this, but like by the time I like had quit basketball, like I had gained a lot of weight, and so it was. You were definitely unhappy. No, I was unhappy. I was so unhappy. Like I said, I was drinking, I was eating a lot. You reminded me because I was like, I know I'm missing a part of this. So, I gained so much weight and I was just so lazy. Like, I didn't have any motivation to do anything. Yeah. So I started lifting weights. Like, I was like heavy into lifting. Like, I had the Arnold Schwarzenegger Bible, like the bodybuilding Bible. Yeah, my dad had it since like the 90s. He's like, here, you can have it. So I was lifting and like working out and stuff like that, and being able to like not only like feed your mind, because I was, like I said, I was listening to podcasts and reading different self-help books and stuff, but I was like working out in a different way that I never worked out before. Because in basketball you lift a little bit, but
that much.
It's just more cardio and stuff like that. Yeah. So I was doing a lot of lifting. Oh my gosh. And I think that's another way that I like got, because I ended up losing like over 50 pounds. Like that's how much weight I gained. Okay. So I ended up losing like 50 pounds, and I told myself like, why have I been limiting myself? Not even just in a physical aspect, but like a mental aspect, you know? Like
that's a lot of weight too.
That is a lot of weight, okay? That's a lot of weight.
For polys?
Yes. Yes. Well, because I was like tiny. I gained a little bit of weight from that point till now. Yeah. But like I was very tiny. So I was like, why have I been limiting myself for this long, you know? Yeah. Like, this is just like a small glimpse of what I can do, like when I actually push myself. Like, because I felt like, I don't know, before I started lifting, like I just really put so many limits on myself mentally. I was like, well, I can't do that because I feel like I'm not enough, you know? And so then when I started to lift, and I just, that's a huge way that I gained like a bunch of confidence was, and then that kind of gave me the confidence to branch out. Like I made friends at the gym and like we just like networked, and I just got more confidence through that. So it was really cool. Yeah.
Did you start feeling more attractive as well? Because like, you know,
I was like, ooh, pop in. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Flexing.
No, flex. No, but I definitely feel that I got more confident because before, and I think this is what I was talking about earlier with like body image, because I felt that my dad would always joke when I was growing up, like we'd go back to Oahu and he'd be like, we'd go around his friends and stuff, like, oh, why do you have a boyfriend? Like, you're so pretty. Yeah. And my dad's like, no, like we're around white people, and like Vai is not the beauty standard like in our little hometown. Yeah. And I think that was so true though. So it's like, because I grew up around all white people, there was no kind of standard for there wasn't like somebody that I could look at that I could be like, oh, like she's so pretty and she looks like me, and I was able to. So I feel that is a huge reason why I had such low self-esteem, was because I just didn't feel pretty, you know. Yeah. And like there's no one around me that looks like me. Yeah. So it just made, when it's like in reality, sorry, I'm like kind of rambling. In reality, it was just because I was around mostly white people, so I kind of assumed that would be the beauty standard. But yeah, to answer your question, after I lost weight, definitely felt way more attractive, confident, things like that. So
yeah, because I feel like I think you mentioned Tony Robbins. He that's a big thing he preaches is taking care of your health.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he said that. I think I was watching one of his.
Motion creates emotion.
Yeah, motion creates emotion. I think there's there was a guy that asked me in one of his seminars. He was like, "Hey, I don't know what to do with my life. I want to change my life. What's the first thing you suggest I should do?"
Start with your body.
He said, "You know what? Before you master anything else, master your body. Yeah. If you can master your body, you can master everything else." Exactly. Because when you're physically healthy, you're mentally healthy.
Exactly.
Everything spiritually, mentally, emotionally is tied.
Yeah, everything is tied together.
With your body.
Exactly. That's what my dad always kind of preached to me growing up. He's like, "Oh, if you want to start anything, start with your body." Yeah. Because once you start feeling good physically, because that's what, like, I think after I had lost the weight, that gave me more confidence to try other things and to be more confident up here, you know? So, definitely.
Okay. How strong did you get? Like, what was it? Can you stats? Give me some stats.
No.
How much were you benching?
Oh my gosh. No, dude. Honestly, I think by the time I was not good in bench. Like, I think that by the time that I like actually started lifting, I only got to like one plate on each side.
135. Okay.
No, that was nothing. But like I could not. But like I by the time I hit, because I was dieting for such a long time. Yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling. But like I was dieting for such a long time that I wasn't eating enough. So like I'm like naturally strong, but by like in dieting mode, when I wasn't even eating enough, I was only squatting like 225. But I feel that if I was eating more than that,
that's still good though.
If I was eating more than that, it would have gone up.
Oh yeah,
you know. So But then by that time, COVID started. That was when I was starting my bowl. And then I was like, damn, like, the gyms are closed. But, yeah.
That's all.
It's cool.
All right, so I do know you like doing music. Right, you like to sing too?
Yeah.
All right, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I think, so growing up, like, on my dad's side of the family, everyone's like a musician. Okay. So when I was younger, like I was talking about earlier, I played the flute, and I wanted to do it into high school, but I was so busy with basketball that I dropped it, you know? But I always loved singing. I really want to learn the guitar more because my dad, he has all his, like, he got his electric guitars, he got all his acoustic guitars, he got his ukes. I'm like, dang, dude. I just feel like growing, like, I don't know, I keep connecting to this, but growing up, I really did not have the time because I was just always playing the sport. And so I just never got to do that kind of stuff. But over COVID or quarantine, I've been like trying to play guitar more, and I bought a flute on Amazon because I can now. So I started playing the flute. My dad's like, take that out of here, take that to the garage. He's like, you are not 12 years old anymore. Like, but so yeah, just like my whole family, on my dad's side, my Aunt Faith, she does like concerts and stuff like that. She's a really good singer. I don't know. I think that music is like a good way to connect with other people, but I think it's big in our community too.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Everything about music is just like it brings people together.
Like to celebrate.
Yeah, and I think that it's just a good way. Like I like to sing a lot, so that's kind of my way to, if I'm feeling some type of way and I just like the little chords I do know, like I'll try to play on the guitar or like sing with my dad and stuff like that, and he plays, so.
Alright, so I know we did talk about your developing confidence and self-esteem. Alright, so I do want to go into like kind of like mental health. Alright, so I know one of the things that I think you mentioned earlier, that I think you told about sometimes people are afraid to reach out for help. Right. You see that a lot? Oh, you know, not only your personal experience, but you see that a lot within
our community.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why it's like, I feel like because it's so stigmatized, it makes it so difficult for people in general in our community to feel comfortable to talk to people. You know, like I lost one of my cousins. He committed suicide like when I was in high school. Wow. And that was just the hardest thing because, you know, he grew up in kind of one of those more strict households where he wasn't able to talk about it, you know? Yeah. So from that, I think that was like a huge reason why my parents advocated for that kind of stuff. But I see it so much with my cousins and like my family in Hawaii too. They just don't feel like they can reach out to their parents. Yeah. And I'm not sure. I mean, for some of my aunties and uncles, it's mostly because they really don't think that it's like an issue.
Yeah. Oh, it's a real thing. Yeah.
You know, or also like I know you talked about in one of your videos, we just have this mentality where it's like be strong and kind of power through everything. You know. Yeah. And so it's just difficult because I see it a lot, and especially after my cousin passed away, it was just like. It's just shocking to see because, you know, we all go through that. We all go through mental health issues where we feel, you know, low, and we all deserve to be able to reach out to the ones that we love and not feel that our feelings are invalidated. So. I know,
because that's the thing. Yeah, I've had some people in my life as well that went through the same thing. And what do you feel like that what we should do to move forward as far as like figure out a solution how to overcome that?
I think that, I mean, I know that like the older generations are very stubborn, so it's kind of like, I mean, I try to kind of talk to my family about it and try to kind of get them to see like how I see it in terms of like being open to listening. And you know, it's a kind of a hit or miss with like some of my aunties or uncles. I have some that like actually kind of took it into consideration, others not so much, but I definitely think in general it should start with this generation where, you know, we advocate for ourselves, we advocate for our older generations that, you know, don't know how to speak out and don't know how to kind of reach out if they need help, and raise our children that way, you know? I think that it's important to, and especially when you raise kids, it's all about modeling. So if you are able to advocate for yourself and other people, your kids will see that and they will model what they see. So I think it just starts with us and just more people knowing that it's okay, and then advocating for each other and advocating for themselves. So
okay,
yeah.
Because I know you have a great open relationship with your parents.
Yeah.
So how does your parents see mental health?
So like
based on your conversation with them.
So I think that there's a lot of, I won't go into it because it's my parents, but I think both of them have experienced like a significant amount of trauma.
Okay.
And that is a huge reason why like they wanted, a better life for me.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's kind of hard to explain. It's like they know they have their trauma, but they just don't know. Like they just started to get therapy. Like for me, I think for more so me, they advocated for me to open up and talk about it, but then for themselves, they internalized their own trauma.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like as I grew older, I would tell them like, you should get therapy. Like I think it's not in a shady way, but like I think it'll help you. And like I think that like my dad's been taking it into consideration, but it makes me sad though, because it's kind of like they want it for me to be able to talk about it, but they themselves they grew up in a generation where they weren't allowed to. Yeah. So they were conditioned like their whole lives to believe it wasn't okay. So now they just don't know how to talk about it, even though they know consciously that it is a problem and they want they need to talk about it. But they were always very open with me, and they always left the door open. If you're going through a hard time, let us know. But I think for me, I'm just stubborn. Like I, because like we still get a sense of like the culture. So I feel like I always felt pressured to, because we're poly women, like we're strong, so you have that kind of idea in your head, and I just felt like I wanted to embody that. So I was just suffering in silence for the longest time, even though I had an open door to talk to my parents about it. So
I think that's true. I think it starts with us. Our parents have gone through like years of conditioning, so it's like it's gonna be really, really hard.
Yeah,
to uncover that and bring that to light, because it's just been buried there for a long time.
It's into like the subconscious at this point. It's been conditioned for such a long time.
It's part of their identity now. It's that's who they are.
Yeah.
So it's really, really hard to change your identity at this point of their life. So I feel like it's gonna start with us to make that happen. So, fast forward now. So do you still deal with stuff like mental health and anything like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you still deal with that.
I think that especially because it's like, oh my goodness, this has been a year. This has been a crazy year. Yeah. And I think that it's always going like this. So like I was going through like my highs and I was doing really well, and then I think when COVID hit, it was just like one thing after another. But I've been finding, because like the gyms were closed. Yeah. It was just like, okay, well then I lost another thing that I'm like. So I think that it was a good way, like quarantine and everything, to kind of learn that like it's not always going to be good. Like yes, you've been riding a high for a very long time, but sometimes we go through points in our lives where we hit our low point again, but we can't stop. So I just it's been really hard these past few months, but I don't know, I think it's also just like the circumstances of like everything going on, the fires, COVID, everything like that. So.
Okay. So I want to go talk a little bit more about how your parents raised you. So growing up as a Polynesian woman, did you experience any kind of like, because I know in the Polynesian community, culture, like there's a lot of expectations of what they expect out of Polynesian girls. So did you like? Well, I know your parents raised you a little different, but did you feel any kind of like expectation?
Oh yeah.
Being a Polynesian woman.
I think that I had pressure to feel like the women in our family are just so dominant and like powerful, and they just do everything on their own, right? And my parents raised me like specifically like everything. Well, first of all, I was raised as an only child, but everything that I did, like no matter what it was that I wanted, I had to work for everything. Nothing was handed to me. So it was kind of like with that and just like the culture and everything in general, me being like on my own as an only child, I just felt so much pressure to be perfect and so much pressure to be kind of like this independent, powerful person. And so I was just, I don't know, I just felt like this pressure to just be on it all the time, which is not realistic. So yeah.
Yeah. So like how did you? So it's when you made mistakes, right? Because nobody's perfect.
Right.
Right, and that's a struggle of trying to raise people perfect because nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
So when you made mistakes, when you failed, like how did you deal with that?
Whew.
Especially when you were feeling that pressure. Like
I don't take So when I was younger, I did not take it well in a sense where like I was just always I would harp on myself so much, and I was just very and I still struggle with this, but I tend to be very overly critical of my own self. And I'm just always hard on myself. Yeah. So it's like I just feel like if I don't get it right, then I'm just like, why even do it, right? Yeah. And so growing up, I would always be like that. My parents always try to kind of be like, it's okay, just get up and keep going, try it again. But for me personally, I've just always been like, if I can't do it perfectly, then why do it, Yeah. But I've been breaking out of that. So lately, I've been breaking out of that.
All right. Yeah, because I feel like that's one thing I always tell a lot of people is like you just gotta have a failure is part of life.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you gotta have
accept it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You gotta have a positive relationship with it. Like you gotta turn it into a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I started to learn as I was getting older. Is like it's kind of like working with it. Work with your failures and like learn from your mistakes, or I wouldn't even say mistakes, but like learn from what you didn't do right the first time, and then just move from there.
Yeah.
And not be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, I know. So, when you went to college, and I know you played basketball. Did you go through like a tomboy period?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I think that when I was in high school, I had more room to dress like kind of girly. But then when I was in college, I was just in sweats every day, all day. Because it's like because you got like 5 a.m. practice, you got weights, then you have like film, you have class in the morning, and then you're in between, and then you got study hall later. So it's like, what's the point of even doing anything,
Yeah.
But I think when I was younger, I was like a tomboy until I hit high school. Like, I think the 4 years that I was in high school was like my girly phase, but I was pretty much a tom. I feel like I'm like the bro girl, like with all my friends, like in my friend group, it's like I would probably be the most tomboyish out of everybody. But yeah, I think that the only time I was really girly was in high school.
Was it high school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if I need to go somewhere and my mom would like bag on me, she'd be like, "Okay, you need to wear this. You need to put this. You need to look presentable." But yeah.
So and I know you graduated, by the way. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know you graduated and you bachelor's in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's and you're doing you're working at where do you work right now?
So I work in it's like applied behavioral therapy. Mm-hmm. So we work with kids with developmental disabilities. So my clients, they all have autism. Mm-hmm. So it's working. So like for example, one of my clients, she is nonverbal and she has like tendencies to kind of, because like they have behaviors where, like for example, my client will like hit herself, right? So it's kind of like teaching them to find different coping strategies when they get upset and things like that, and then just so that like just to improve basically like the premise is just to improve their quality of life, Yeah. So like one of my clients is completely nonverbal, teaching her how to use a device so that she can communicate with her parents, because it could be anything that's going on if they're upset, and you wouldn't know because they're nonverbal. So just helping them find different coping strategies so that we can just improve their quality of life. Pretty cool.
What made you get into that?
So my mom, she is a director at a nonprofit in Santa Rosa, and so they basically help adults with developmental disabilities become more independent. So they help them find jobs, they help teach them different life skills, job skills, and things like that, and then they help them apply to different jobs and stuff. So growing up, I was around that a lot, and I don't know, I was just so fascinated with it, and I thought my mom was so cool. And her clients were super cool. And I think it's just cool to be able to say that you can, help somebody improve their quality of life. I think that it's the developmental disability, like people with developmental disabilities are just very stigmatized in our community. And people just think they can't do anything. And that's like completely far from the truth. They are just as capable as anybody else. You just need to give them the chance to be. So, yeah.
Is that why you got into psychology?
Yeah, so there are so many different avenues that I wanted to go through because psychology is just so broad.
Yeah.
When I first started, I wanted to do like psychotherapy, and I mean that's still a possibility, really. But right now, I don't know. There are just so many different like opportunities, so I'm kind of just leaving it in the open. I'm also really interested in like school psychology, so being a school psychologist would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. Or like special ed teachers too as well. Like I work in a school, like through my the company that I work for, and we work with the kids, and they're just super cute and sweet. So yeah.
Were you like the first person in your family to graduate college, as far as like your immediate family?
So like my mom and my dad. Yeah. So my dad went to JC. Honestly, I don't even know if he finished, but I know that both of them went. I'm pretty sure both my parents got their AA, but neither of them got their bachelor's. My brother didn't go to college, so yeah. Within like with my parents, I'm the first.
Was education something that your parents pushed growing up?
And I think that's another reason why they wanted me to stay in California, and why they kept me. They sent me to school in Santa Rosa. Because the education's really good over there,
Yeah.
So my mom always pushed that. I mean, my dad did too, but it was more so my mom where she was like, "No, you're gonna get educated, and you're gonna, have a better life than we did." And yeah, so it was always kind of like in high school. They weren't like strict, but they just always advocated for me to, move forward. Move forward,
right? Yeah. Do you see? What about your other family, branch family, like? Did they graduate from college?
Yeah, so we're like the first. So like my cousins that I said live next door to us, I think so 3 of them that live next door, they're all like in their, one is 27, the other is 31, and the other is 34. We are all like the first to graduate.
Yeah.
So but we all played sports. So like one she played basketball at San Jose State, the other played at Texas Tech, and then the other one played in Charleston, South Carolina.
All girls?
Yeah.
No guys?
What was that?
All girls?
No, the 2 guys. There are 2 guys and 1 girl. Yeah. Okay. So, but we're all like the first. So it's just funny because we all played sports, and it's just like, but that was the way that we kind of got our way through the door. So.
Yeah, because I feel like that education is going to be a big part of it, especially as our generation to move forward.
Right.
Like we need to educate ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the polys that we kind of like stick to the old traditional ways. And that's kind of why it's kind of holding back our culture. Yeah,
I think knowledge is definitely power when you're able to like utilize it and get it. So I think, and that goes into what we were talking about earlier with like not having as much representation and like not seeing as much like podcasts and things like that and like resources for us to have is just because we're kind of, I just think like the older generations like never really moved forward with it. So we're kind of in this like weird like half. I feel like a lot of people do get their education and the other half don't. So it's kind of like back and forth.
Yeah. So you could consider yourself like a vocal, like you speak your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, honestly though, like I think that's a huge reason why, like a lot of I don't know, my mom gets so embarrassed. She's like, stop talking, please. Yeah. But my dad always would advocate for me to speak my mind. And I try not to be disrespectful. Like in that one video, I was only mad because I was being disrespected. But like with in general, I keep it respectful. But I will, say what I'm thinking. I do think that it's hard though I know when to pause. You know what I mean? Like especially within the family and like at like, I'm trying to think of like different gatherings. Like obviously I won't say anything because I think in our culture it's seen as very disrespectful, and so I respect that.
Yeah, well,
I know my boundaries, right? Yeah. If I'm with my Polynesian friends, I will be like, no, I'm gonna shut you up right now, shut that shit down. But I definitely have boundaries of where I really do open my mouth and when I don't. So.
Did your family kind of give you a label for being outspoken,
They're like, oh, you're gonna be, because I was a journalist at first, or I was doing journalism for college, and even when I was in high school, I wrote for the school paper, and I would write articles, and people would be pissed. So my family was just like, oh, yeah, Vai's gonna, I made some people mad. We got reports on my articles and my my opinion pages.
Oh, what were you writing about?
I'm trying to think. There was one. This was back when trying to think. This was my senior year, I think. It was about slut shaming, and I was like, it was some crazy like opinion piece on that, and everybody was just super mad. And I talked about, dang, there were just so many.
Wait, when were they married?
Huh?
Did you use examples? Is that why they were married?
Yeah, well, because this was in 2014. So this was on. Remember when Miley Cyrus? I don't know if you remember this, but you remember when Miley Cyrus did that thing with Robin Thicke and she was dancing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like. In all the tabloids, they were like, "Oh, she's a slut. She's this, she's that." So I basically was just talking about like how slut shaming is unacceptable and like it's not fair and like why should men profit off of, like, you know, women's bodies and such, but like women aren't able to do the same thing. And so that just like started some shit. And but with my family, I know. Like, I would never talk about that in front of them. But with people that I'm, like, just common friends with or people in school, like, I just started shit. But, yeah, so in my family, I've definitely been the one... I think as I got older, but when I was younger, I was very shy. Like, when I started basketball, if I make a basket, I would run, and I'd put my hands over my head and, like, run down the court. Like, that's how bad it was. But as I got older...
a long way.
Yeah, so as I got older, I was just, like... And my uncle, so he's from Magua, so he's just like, Vai, you're gonna be the first Samoan anchor, and you're gonna talk everybody's ear off. And I was like, that was what I was gonna do at first, but I think up to this point, even like with everything going on in the world, I've been like just expressing myself even more since basketball's been over. So my family has just been like, Vai's crazy. She's just. She's talking, but yeah, I would say that I'm definitely one of the more outspoken ones in my family.
Well, I'm glad you're outspoken. You wouldn't be here. But it worked out well.
Good to go.
Happy for a reason. Okay, pause. All right.
Okay.
Someone get to the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about relationships.
Okay. Yeah, what's up?
So, you know, what's your experience with relationships, you know, dating as a Polynesian woman? Because I know dating as a Polynesian is different from the conventional American tradition, you know, American dating life, right? So we have different ways that we have traditions. So I just want to get your thoughts, your experience of dating.
I would think, honestly... like nothing there. No, I was just so, again, this is so lame, but I was just so busy growing up, and I just feel like I didn't give myself the time to like see, like try to go out and find, you know, have a boyfriend and give myself, I don't know, I have very minimal, like, I mean, I've talked to a bunch of guys, like gone on dates with guys, but I've never been in like a relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just hard because I'm very picky, but at the same time, like, I feel very pressured. I know I've heard a lot of people on TikTok say, and like on YouTube as well, they talk about like so I've seen some poly girls saying that their families kind of wanted them to go for like Balangi people, and that was never really my experience. Like mine was actually the complete opposite. So from an early age, my mom was just always saying like, you're gonna find yourself a poly husband and like that's it. You will never. So I remember like I think one of the most serious like.
You ever ask your mom, I don't see anybody?
No, and so that was the problem that I had, was like, okay, then I'm gonna move. Because she's like, no, you're not gonna move. I'm like, so what are we doing? We do like a mail order bride or something like that? Like, it was just so hard because I was just not around any poly people. So all I had was like white dudes around me, and it was just like balangis everywhere. You know, and that was kind of all that was there. So it was like when I did kind of go on dates, like there's this one guy that I talked to, I think, like he was my first date, and we talked and we were like really good friends from like the time we were 15 until like, well now, and he's white. Yeah. And so my mom hated that, my dad hated it, they could not stand him, and it was just like, at that point, I don't know, I also feel this pressure to like, do what my parents want me, like, it's just, I don't want them to be disappointed in me.
Well, you want to make it happy.
Yeah, I want to make them happy, you know? It's just I think that's an instinctive thing for everybody. Yeah. But yeah, like, I feel like that's always been a pressure on me where I was just like, well, there are no polys around me, okay? So, yeah, I have very minimal experience, and then even with the people that I have dated, gone on dates with, talked to, it just never really like pans out because I just don't feel like I feel like it's not gonna go anywhere because again I want to like, you know, do what my parents want me to do. Yeah. As crazy as that sounds, but it's like I don't know. So very minimal, like I would say. And I go on dates and stuff like that, but I'm not really into the Tinder thing. I can't do it. I really can't do it. It's scary. I'm like, no. My mom was like, why don't we just, we'll just download it and see if we find any poly boys. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. And then it's like, I remember one guy did like, and he was Samoan, and like, I forget how, we met him through like family friends. Or no, I met him with like my other cousins or whatever. I'm like, Mom, like, and he like we were both interested. And this was when I was younger, and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, like there's this cute guy, whatever. What's his last name? Give her the last name. Girl, you related to him. And I was like, oh my god. So yeah, I don't know. It's been all over the place with dating. I just prefer not to talk about it with my mom and my dad and everybody. And I think there's also a pressure, I feel like, since I'm getting older, you know, because my parents, by the time they were my age, like, my mom was pregnant with me, and they had everything together, so I think that it kind of freaks me out, like, just because I want to live, I feel this pressure to, like, find a husband, you know, like, and him being poly, I feel this pressure to, you know, having kids soon, because obviously like my mom did as well, but that's just not really where I'm at this point. I want to live my life, like I want to travel, I just don't want to live, you know, to have kids early or have, you know, a husband early and then just resent my life or resent them. And so I think that I'm just in this weird middle ground where I want to please my parents in that way and try to find somebody, but at the same time, like I want to, you know, live my best life before, you know, I want to go places and try more different things because the way I see it, like I played basketball from the time I was 6 until I was 21. And so it's like in the last 3 years I've been trying different things, and now I'm like, oh my god, like I'm already about to be in my mid-20s, like where did the time go? But I feel like there's this timeline that I need to kind of get out of, that I kind of set on myself because of my parents, where like, well, by this age I need to be here, and all that kind of stuff. But I've been trying to put less pressure on myself and just live, you know, and let the chips fall where they need to. So.
What about your friends? Are they married already, or?
Yeah, like all my friends have serious all my best friends are serious relationships. One of them's moving to Colorado. My best friend, she lives in the city. She's doing nursing. She got a serious little boyfriend. And I'm like the only one where I'm just like trying to live my life. Like I would be open to being in a relationship. It's just like I haven't really found that person. And I don't know. But like I think the biggest thing is just feeling that pressure to be with somebody who's also poly. It's hard. And especially when I live in the area that I do, it's like I'm gonna have to move. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. Okay.
I know that timeline, right?
The time, it's like
that's the hardest thing. That timeline.
I'm over here counting the years. Okay, by the time this, that, it's like, oh my god, it sucks. Have you ever felt like that, where you feel like pressured in a certain way?
Not really, because I feel like it's different for guys.
Yeah, that's most. I was just thinking that. I was like, it's probably different for guys.
You know, because I feel like as for women, you guys have that biological clock.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so you have that working against you, so like you feel that ticking.
Yeah.
But I think
where guys, it's just like, I'll do whatever.
Like, always you can come back in the game.
I'm gonna live my life. Like, must be nice.
So we don't have. I mean, that's how I feel. I know there are guys. I have friends who do feel they have a biological clock. They have to be married by 30. You know.
Right, and it sucks.
For me, it's just like
Wait, how old are you?
29.
29.
So I've never felt that. So I've never felt that for myself. Even though my parents were married. Like my parents were married 19.
Oh wow.
19. Yeah,
that's crazy.
19. Yeah. So I think it's a lot more pressure like for girls.
Yeah, like And you made a good point. It's like that biological clock where you're just like, all right, like the chances of me having a child, well, if you do want to have kids, like, okay, the chances of like me having a child will completely decrease by the time I hit like my early to mid 30s. So like, you know, you're scrambling. And then when you have like the cultural aspect where, you know, at least for me, my parents expect me to be with somebody who is in our community, it's like, it just feels so much more pressure. Like, I don't know. It feels like it just sucks sometimes. You just feel like you're so pressured, you know? Yeah. But I guess, because I feel like my guy cousins don't have that pressure whatsoever. They're all like around your age.
I mean, I don't want to sound like, because, you know, guys, like, you know, we can always have kids. Yeah. So, you know, so. Yeah,
you could be in like your 70s and I'd be like, it's just.
I mean, you have 40s, like, 50s, you have kids. So, like, that's why I feel like that's why I feel like guys don't have that pressure, because we know we just have kids when we're going to have kids. Yeah. But I know for women it's different, because you guys' bodies built different. Mm-hmm. So you just feel like TikTok.
Like TikTok, oh my gosh. I know. Get my life, okay.
I know my last podcast last week, I did a podcast with Patria. She just got married.
Oh, really?
Last year, but she was 30. She just turned 37.
Wait, was it the getting the food and like bringing the food out her purse at the? Yeah, I like her. She's good.
So, she just got married like last. She's 37 now, but last year she was 36. Okay. But she did talk about it in the podcast that she just went through a lot of scrutiny, and of course, you did mention you were picky.
Yes. So
she's picky too.
Well, she's married now, so that's good.
But she said that, you know, when you're picky as a Polynesian, because we have these standards that we have to be married early, like, you know. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when you're picky as a Polynesian woman, like you get labeled as being difficult.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
I think that's why you're single, because it's so difficult.
That's exactly, you know, I'm not trying to shame my mom, but she says that all the time, where she's like, she's like, you could literally have any guy you want, but you're just too difficult, you're too picky. And it's like, well, if I'm going to spend the rest of my life with somebody, like, I value myself enough to know that, like, I'm not just going to pick anyone. Like, they have to have, you know, like, good value. I don't know. I'm not just going to go with anyone. Yeah. I feel that, like...
It's a big commitment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And especially to, like, live your life with. I wouldn't want to resent somebody for, like, the rest of my life if it just didn't pan out. Yeah. Have kids with them and just resent, you know? Like, I want everything to just be less crazy.
Yeah, you want to have what your parents said.
Yeah. I'm like, but I always tell them, like, you guys were just fortunate enough to meet each other. Like, I don't know how that happened, because how do you meet in Santa Rosa, California? Like, that is the most random spot for two people from the islands to meet. Yeah. Like, and you guys are in the same age. Yeah. Like, I don't know. But I definitely agree, where I just feel like I'm being labeled difficult all the time. Because, I mean, it is true. Like, there are guys that are interested, but I'm just kind of like, I don't vibe with them. So I'm just like, I'm not going to go with you. I don't vibe with you, you know? Like, but it's just a difficult situation. And then the whole, like, thing. What, does she have kids?
No, she's pregnant.
Oh, she's pregnant. Yeah, that's good. That's great.
I was so happy. She married a Tongan dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was going a Tongan dude. He was sitting on the couch. Oh. It was kind of funny to her talking about him, and then he was right there.
He's just like.
Yeah, he was like.
That's me.
I was like, Toko for life. Yeah. And then I feel like she talked about that. I feel like like when you get labeled difficult, and then
right. You're like, I just have some standards.
And then if you go in a relationship and it doesn't work out, it's your fault.
You're right.
It's not the guy's fault.
Yeah, I see that. I do see that a lot. I've had cousins where I've seen that they've had like long-term relationships, and for whatever reason, you know, it didn't work out, but it was like their family blamed them, and it was like, well, this was the
woman.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. But my mom was like, man, we should get you on 90 Day Fiancé. You could be...
No, it's funny.
Kalani.
No, it's funny. Even Patria, like the one from last week, she applied for it.
Yeah?
Yeah, she
did.
She applied for it.
Dude.
Yeah, she tried to apply for it.
Well, I'm glad somebody got it with the.
But they got it, as well. But she said it was hardcore. Like,
really?
When they had the interview process.
Dang.
Yeah, like they were like asking like some like deep.
Some like really personal questions.
They wanted to get to like.
They wanted to get to the core.
Yeah. She said that she felt like they wanted her to start speaking bad of her husband.
No. I feel like...
like...
But that's why it's reality TV.
But but that's what makes it interesting, because they want that drama.
Yeah.
They don't want I'm loving, I'm a happy couple.
Because bad news sells, Bad news sells.
They don't want a loving, happy couple.
No, they're like, that's boring.
They want a couple that fights.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's hella funny. Alright, so I do want to talk about going to religion a little bit. Mm-hmm. Alright, so because I know being poly, our faith is a big thing. Was your house like a big? Did you guys go to church every? Like, was a big foundation? Like God is a big foundation of your household. Yeah.
So I think that for me it was confusing growing up because so my dad is just, I don't even know how to describe him. I think that I get my weirdness from him in a sense where God was our, we went to church, Christian church every Sunday, mm-hmm. but my dad would always read spirituality books and self-help books. Mm-hmm. So I think that growing up, I knew, we followed the teachings of Christ and everything that we learned, in the church on Sundays and stuff like that. I went to Sunday school, but then I would also get I don't know if this makes sense, but I would low-key get confused because he would be reading just different things of Buddhism, mm-hmm. and in the Tao Te Ching and stuff like that. Yeah, he'd have he'd just have different books and he'd be everything's connected. Yeah. So it would just confuse me because my mom was very Christian, and this is why I say I grew up in the most non-conventional way possible. My dad can quote the Bible front and back, but at the same time he would also branch out and just read random stuff. So I just feel I've always followed the teachings of Christ and I believe in God, mm-hmm. but at the same time I do see a lot of kind of value in other religions as well. Not necessarily things that I would follow, I wouldn't be a complete Muslim, or I wouldn't be, a Hindu, but I do see a lot of overlap with different religions. But I think for the most part I would probably identify most with Christianity, just because that's what I grew up with, and I think that's another reason why I felt so out of place growing up, was because all of my other Samoan cousins, they'd all be going to the Samoan church in Santa Rosa, and all my my family in Hawaii and Utah, they're all Mormon, so I just felt very out of place, and I felt I was not a sinner, but I just felt I wasn't, there was something that wasn't right about me, or that, I felt I was doing something wrong, just because we weren't conventionally Christian all the way. Yeah. My mom was, but my dad just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but we just weren't, for example, I have family in Utah who, they're very, they're Mormon, and they, practice very, I don't know, they're just very strong with being Mormon, I guess. And so, for us, I felt judged in a way where they kind of looked at us we just didn't live that life, Does that make sense?
Yeah, you guys are sinners.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it's just hard. Especially because we're not, it wouldn't matter anyway, but, we're not atheists. We just, I grew up following the Bible and going to Christian church, but it just wasn't the center of our everything. So I don't know how to explain it. It's I grew up, I think from the time I was a young child until high school, mm-hmm. We would go to church every single Sunday, and then it was just kind of there was just a blank spot in my life where I feel everything was just a blur, just because we were so busy. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever.
When did you guys go to the church regularly on every Sunday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just I guess my thing is we weren't I feel in our community everything is centered around the church. Yeah. So because we weren't as active, that's what I think
you weren't as active.
Describes it best. Yeah, we weren't as active as everybody else, so that made me feel that we were sinners. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, even though I was going to church.
You guys didn't value church.
Yeah, exactly. That's because, probably the perfect way to say it.
Because I feel in Polynesians, when it comes to hierarchy as far as values, church is over everything.
Right.
So if you just know your lifestyle, if you had a tournament on Sunday,
perfect example,
you would go to the tournament.
Perfect example.
A lot of Polynesians would sacrifice that tournament and go to church.
Yeah.
But they don't see that. They see that, they're oh, you don't value Does that make sense?
Yeah, so no, that like I feel like I was stumbling on my words, but you described it perfectly. It was like we were going to church every Sunday, but at the same time, like if something came up, we would go for that, and then it was like, they're like, look at them, they're not going to church.
They don't go to church, or they don't value church as much.
Or yeah, like our family in Hawaii and like our family in Utah, like would see that and be like, oh, you guys don't go to, you're not always going to youth group or things like that.
And that's when they're like the Palangi.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly where I was going. Was that they would call me Palangi, people would call me whitewashed, they'd say I was spoiled. Yeah. When that was like the furthest thing from the truth. Like it didn't negate the fact that I was raised in a Christian household. But I think it also made it hard because my dad was just so like all over the place that like he's just like a total hippie, I guess that you could say. So people would just look and be like, yeah, they're sinners, or like they don't, they're this, they're that. But does that make sense?
No, I can totally relate because I grew up the same way. Because in my family, like Sunday is like we're not supposed to do anything on Sunday. Right. Like no watching TV, no nothing, just read the Bible.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like I came here. I was like, at first I struggled with that because I wanted to be like a normal American kid.
Right.
I wanted to watch the Super Bowl.
Watch the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Watch the game. I'm trying to get some game time, especially I was playing football. And I was like,
right.
I love football. So I was like. And then I battled for that because every time I did it, I felt like I was guilty of like forgetting my roots.
Right.
That's why I felt like I'm too Americanized.
Exactly.
Right. But then like I said, I had to realize for myself. You know what? It's at the end of the day, it's my life, and when it comes to God, I think it's a lifestyle. It's not. Something
you carry those things with you outside of the church.
It's how you live your life every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you go to church every Sunday does not necessarily mean you're a good person.
Exactly.
That's because you follow all the rules. And for me, like, do I know every scripture? No.
Yeah.
Do I read the Bible every day? I haven't read the Bible in a minute. Right.
Where are you? So what's your?
I'm Mormon.
Mormon. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't go to all the church activities. I mean, I'm not super active.
Right.
Right, but as far as like love and kindness and being nice, I do that every day.
Exactly. See, that's what my dad.
And that's how I see that's how I see religion. I think somebody said, I was listening to a podcast. It's like God is not a church. It's our religion's not a church. It's our relationship with God. So
exactly.
That's what I see. As long as I'm working towards my relationship with Him. Even though I may not be as super active like other members, they think they're perfect, and hey, it is what it is. But God knows who I am.
Yeah, I think that's it. That you said it perfectly though. Is like my dad raised me the same way, where he was like, even if we aren't practicing as much as like the next person in our church or whatever it is, like that doesn't make us any less followers of Christ than we are, because we take that with us everywhere we go outside of the church. So
I know some mean people.
Yeah.
Some hypocrites.
It is just, and it's hard too because it's like you're being judged, and again, like we're not doing anything wrong. It's just we aren't like a conventional Samoan family.
Yeah.
But I think that you made a good point. It's just like as long as you carry it wherever you go and you treat others with kindness and love.
For me, the way I say, what's the point of go to church every Sunday and you're still...
You don't follow those values.
Yeah, you don't follow the values and you still have hateful feelings. You still judge people, hate people, unkind.
Yeah.
And I know people like that, right? They go to church every Sunday.
I think we all. Yeah.
but you know who your true character is. So for me, it's just God is just like how you live your life, your character and how you treat people.
Exactly.
And God sees what you do every single day behind closed doors. People don't
behind closed doors, and it's like I think a lot of it too is like if I have to go to, and that this is kind of like how I feel about it, is that if I have to go to church and be very active, like I feel like it's very performative in some cases where it's like why is it that I need to be there constantly and like overworking. Because I don't know how to explain this. With some people, I just feel like it's overworking in a sense where it's almost performative. Like you have, like you doing that, and you going every day.
You're not doing it because you want to. You do it because you have to.
Yeah, but also, like in a sense where you have to, but it's like, see, I'm showing you like what I'm doing. When in reality, like that stuff happens behind closed doors. You don't need. It kind of reminds me of like people, like when people give like food to homeless people or something like that. It's just very like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to prove your faith by overexerting yourself and like trying to prove it to the other people in the congregation. You know,
I'm proving it. Like I say, like for me, the only person I'm trying to prove is like God. Like He sees what I do. He sees what I'm trying to do, all the work I do.
Yeah.
And I know just because I don't go to church, people think I'm just like crazy and living on my life, and all he cares about social media because I'm always posting my videos.
Yeah, not to say that like people, like everybody who goes to church constantly is performative. I'm just talking about those people who like feel the need to judge others. Yeah. And then because look what I'm doing, but you're not doing that. Like that's where I have a problem. Yeah. If you're in church every day and do your thing, that's fine. But just don't judge other people doing it.
Yeah, don't judge somebody's character based on their attendance.
Exactly.
Right.
Just like
character is based on what you do, how you live, and how you treat people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not your 100% attendance.
Jeez. But it's like some people don't understand that. But it's so hard.
I feel like that's the old thinking of Polynesians, the old traditional, traditional ways of thinking back in the day. Because back in the day they went to church every Sunday. So that became like a tradition, and then because we're the generation, we're kind of breaking. But we were trying to figure out our own ways of how we want to live our life, and we're breaking away from that.
Yeah, I feel like it's scary though too, because like I mean for me I felt that, and that's for me going like as a person who would go to church every Sunday, but like I've had cousins who came out as atheists, and like I don't know how they had the strength to do that, because in our family that's just like I mean people will cut you off for that kind of stuff, so it's like I don't know, it's crazy.
So that was your experience, huh?
Yeah.
Have you ever asked your dad why he was all over the place?
I think the reason why, so like, he always made Christ and his teachings like his core values, but I think he's such an open, like, it wasn't like, he was, how do I say this? It was more so that he would read other things and read other teachings because he was open to them, and he would just find like the overlap in it, in a sense where it's like everyone's connected by like, because we would see so many Christians like judge other people, right? Mm-hmm. And he'd be like, so many of these other teachings kind of give they have the same message that we're learning it, like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like he would just always, he's just a hippie. I don't know how to explain it. He just is an open-minded person, and he doesn't judge anyone. Mm-hmm. So like whenever I feel like we felt very judged by our church, he would always kind of like remind me like, oh, like in this book, like I read this, and like this is very similar to what we learned here. Like you shouldn't be judging other people just based off of their religions and things like that. But I also think it's just because he's weird. He's just like a total hippie. Like he grew up in Hola, so he just like country boy. He runs to the beat of his own drum, just does whatever he wants. So, my mom's more so the one that's like, just
it's always
go to church.
The wife was.
And the dad is just like a hippie, and super strange. And,
I think for me it's just like, when it comes to like church attendance, the only thing I see why I would do that, because it's for me like sacrificing my time.
Right.
For God. Right. All right. And that's why I would make an effort to go. I'm not going to church because I want people to see me. I'm going to church not to please anybody, because I don't people judge me. I'm going because
for you and for your religion.
Yeah, because throughout the whole week I plan things for me. For
you, exactly.
Right. So this is one day I can plan things. I can put everything aside my schedule and put everything and plan like a few hours of my day for God. Yeah. And it's because without Him, I wouldn't be able to do the things I'm doing. Yeah. So that's how I see it. That's why I feel like I gotta make a better effort to be active, not because of like what people say or to please other people. Yeah. I just want to let God know I do see Him as a priority. Yeah. That I will make time for Him, instead of like not making no time for Him, but then asking to help me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I feel like that's another thing too, is like going into my actual relationship with God, is that I feel that everything is very private for me. Yeah. And in that, like, I feel that a lot of my family has kind of, they judge me off of my exterior and like the things that I would do. Like in college, like people will call me a party girl, they call me this, they call me that, and they say I was ungodly and things like that. But at the same time, like, they don't know my relationship with God because I kept everything behind closed doors, And my dad always taught me like to just kind of keep those things private, and that I don't need to like, you know, show it in front of anybody else. I'm trying to think what else we did. I mean, he'd always taught me like to tithe and things like that, pray. I think that that's a huge reason why though, like with the things that I went through my senior year, apart from like, you know, reading about different ways to like help my subconscious and things like that, it was just like making sure my relationship with God was improved. I think that was probably the number one thing. And then just like giving him gratitude for everything, you know, because like with all the things that I've been through in my life, like none of that would have been possible without him. And so
exactly,
I think that like it was just so hard for me because I felt like I needed to project that and show people, you know what I mean, like what we were talking about with like in church where you feel like you have to prove something when it's like, I mean, as I got older I realized like I really didn't need to do that.
It's all about like, it's like competition and comparison.
And it's like, why? Like they're...
I think like 2-3 years ago I started to realize that. Like,
it's just...
I was like, you know what? This is my relationship with God is between him and me.
And you, exactly.
Nobody else.
No one else.
Right? And just because I do that, that's because I don't do that. I do that. That doesn't mean that I don't value the people in there and the congregation, the pastors and everything.
Exactly.
There's good. I mean, there's great leaders. There's great people in church. But I feel like for me, like it's between me and him, and he knows who I am truly. And then
I would agree. I think it's just like when I talk about like the performativeness, I'm literally just talking about like people who just, you know, those
they think like they're better than everybody else.
Exactly, but it's like I feel like once you get past that and like realize that everything is just solely about your relationship with God, like nothing else matters.
It just
everything else is just BS, you know, like.
For me it's like. When people have that point of view, I'm like, that's totally opposite of...
exactly.
How can you think that? But that's totally opposite of what Jesus is preaching. That baffles me all the time.
And that's why I just... mind my own, dude.
Yeah.
Don't really talk to nobody about it.
But it's just so many things going on, so... That's good.
There's so many...
We good.
Okay. I feel like there's so many different ways that you could look at that. But I think that's the number one thing is just focusing on like your... relationship, and then everything else is just you can mute it out, zone it out.
Well, I think for me, I was like, I was kind of, when I was trying to figure out myself, and I started doing research. I'm pretty much the same thing as your dad. Like, I'll go and research other religions. And, I mean, it's not because I'm trying to become that. I wanted to learn.
Exactly, that's why he does it.
Yeah, so I try to learn about Buddhism. I try to learn Muslims. I just wanted to figure out like the origin of everything, and just from my own experience.
It's also interesting too to learn about it.
And then what I realized, I mean, everything in the Bible. I mean, I do believe the Bible is real, but I do feel like over time, man kind of put their own agendas into.
Oh, religion. Absolutely.
So I feel like sometimes I feel like religion can be kind of be like, it's like an organization to control people sometimes. I
do feel that way, and it's like I find it very difficult to talk to other polys about it because they'll just I've seen it on poly Twitter and people just
it's blasphemy, right? Oh, blasphemy,
and it's like, but it is true. I think that a lot of people.
If you really take like an objective look at it, right? Take your emotions and values and put it out the side, look at it. Over time, and the Bible evolved, and
people utilize it to get their own ends.
Yeah, and then everybody started making their own traditions in the church.
Yeah, exactly.
So there were, of course, were there original traditions that Jesus had with the original 12 disciples? Yeah, but then I felt like over time,
people started putting in their own.
You know what? I think
let's just throw that one in there.
Every Sunday we should come to church. Throw that one in there.
Yeah,
we can't. Timing. Throw it in there. I mean, I'm saying that's how it went.
I totally get you.
I'm not trying to like. Speak ill about any religion.
No.
But I just feel like over time, man just added their point of view and their own personal agenda. And then now, 2020, it's just all this mix and all these man-made things, and then now everybody's caught up with it.
They're caught up with it.
And now we're forgetting the true essence of church, which is love. Right? Love.
Exactly.
That's it. At the end, that's what Jesus said. Like, it's all about love at the end of the day.
You hit it on the nail, because I feel like we have become so consumed with all of the all of the noise, all the exterior things
stuff when it comes
that we have created as humans. Over time, not the actual word of like.
Yeah, which is love.
Yeah, which is love, and it's like I think it's just so hard because it's like other polys when you try to talk about this kind of stuff, like it is just. Yeah. You cannot get through. You cannot get anybody to kind of
talk about the Bible like that.
Have a civil conversation.
That's their, like, you know, that's everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like I'm told that God is like
exactly
number one value in their life.
Not to like demean them in any way, but it's just like there can never be a conversation because, like you said, when you look at it at an objective point of view, everything has been kind of thrown in for everybody to have their own benefit like throughout history.
You have all these denominations and everybody has different things.
My dad always said that too.
And of course, every religion will claim we have the real, true religion. And,
right.
You know, we're taught down by Jesus himself. And just doing my research, I was like, there's a lot of gray area in it. So
yeah, and I think that's why like. I don't know. I feel like growing up, I was always confused because there are just like so many different things, and I was always like, it just confused me when I would see judgmental Christians.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it was kind of like, well, the premise of Christ's teachings are to love others, is it not? Yeah. Like, are they not? Like
that's what confused me.
Yeah, so that's why I was always kind of like
when I saw people they're like label society as spiritually perfect, or they're like great members of the church or Christ followers of Christ.
There are flaws there,
but they have so many character flaws.
Right.
But they grew up and they know they grew up in the church and learned all the lessons and everything. But they're like their character. There's something is wrong with their character.
Right.
And that's when I started wanting to find out my own answer, and then I kind of concluded to figure out that at the end of the day it's just between me and him, and just love. And then that's it. And then,
that's all you can do really, because I mean outside of that, I mean it's not something that you should like put your energy into, especially like specifically with like the people that we were talking about, like judging and things like that. It's just like why even put your energy into that, you know?
Yeah, and plus like I don't even judge those people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like okay, you do your thing, I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah, because I don't know their life.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how they grew up. Everybody has a different circumstance. Like
exactly.
So for me, it's just like I just found out in my life that when I love people, when I help people, and when I'm kind to people, good things happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I can't explain it. But I just found out in my own experience when I just don't judge people, and I just practice empathy and compassion and love and sincerity and kindness. Good things
manifest into your life.
And the things that I desire and want to achieve from life finds a way back. I find a way to get that attracted in my life. So it's working out pretty good.
That's good.
So that's how I found my journey. So that's how I see religion. So I do the Bible. I do believe in the Bible. I do believe in everything, the stories, everything. But I do also believe in just like the essence of like I don't try to like put my energy, like you said, on the exterior things of religion.
Just kind of
focus more on the essence part of which is like our spirituality and being a good human being.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just hard.
Even though that's like the simplest thing. Just be a good person.
Just be a good person. Have some basic empathy for other people. So.
I know it's crazy.
It is.
Crazy. All right, let's get this pause.
Did that make?
All right, we're almost there.
Almost there now.
Almost there. So, you know what? I think we shared a lot of stuff. I think the last session for to conclude this podcast. I think I want to talk about like personal growth. All right. So I think I just want to focus on that just to finish it up. So looking back at yourself before, and I'm sure you probably agree that you've probably grown.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
So sometimes I feel like as Polynesians, and I think you probably saw a TikTok video. I posted about it, that we have a lot of things that like beliefs and things that we have to unlearn. Right. So I want to ask you is what are beliefs or things that you feel like that you have to unlearn to kind of grow into the person that you are today? Because I feel like that's part of growth, right?
Yeah. Like
we have to stop doing certain things that's toxic, like you said. Like you talked about self-talk. You had a habit of negative self-talk, to kind of like make you feel worse by yourself. So you have to learn to talk yourself in a positive way. So I mean that's one example, but in your experience, like what are things that you as you grew in your life and as you went through your challenges, and what are certain things that you had to unlearn that maybe tied to our culture as being a Polynesian or being a woman.
Yeah.
And then you have to realize, wow, this negative way of thinking or thoughts or belief is actually hurting me.
Yeah.
And you have to unlearn that and start forming new beliefs and new thinking ways of thinking or thought processing. So
I think that like we kind of touched on it earlier, but like in your video that you like when you were talking about how in our culture we kind of the people to like suffer in silence instead of like kind of expressing like how we feel or I don't know, things like that, or just talking to others, reaching out to others. I think that was like the number one thing that I had to unlearn because I kind of had this like independent mentality where I didn't want to get help from other people, and I felt like I could do everything on my own, and I didn't want to ask for help because I felt this pressure to just be perfect. So in that I suffered a lot like internally and like mentally because I wasn't able to reach that mark, and because I wasn't asking for help, I like would drown in like certain things. So like specifically with my mental health, like I didn't reach out to other people, and whenever I would make mistakes, I was overly critical about myself, so that would just make it even worse, I guess. So suffering in silence for such a long time, I think that it was, especially after my senior season of basketball, I really had to unlearn the idea of trying to just figure things out on my own. And I realized that it's, you know, I'm not perfect, and it's okay to reach out to other people and tell people that I'm not okay. And just being able to, I don't know, like not just strictly depend on myself and like understand I have others around me. And yeah, I think that was like a really big thing for me because I've always been like felt this pressure to be independent and just, you know, because I was raised to think for myself and speak for myself and just go to the beat of my own drum, have my own style and things like that. So it was kind of like, I just felt so independent. So I felt that everything that I did needed to be done alone, and I was very critical of myself. So unlearning that was probably one of the biggest things, because then I started to ask for help and I started to get resources for, you know, like I started getting therapy, branching out to other people, talking to my loved ones when I really felt like I was, you know, down and things like that. And I feel like it just softened the blows in a sense where I stopped being as critical of myself and I started being much more kind to myself. And when I made mistakes, I would kind of just try to decipher what I did, you know, what I didn't do the first time, and then for the next time, I just remember that and then utilize that for the next time that it came around. And then that also kind of moves into like the mental aspect of like being kinder to my thoughts, replacing negative thoughts about myself. You know, I think the number one affirmation I had, because, you know, in my head I would always be like, you know, I'm not good enough, because I was so overly critical of myself. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, and whatever it was. And once I started to shift that and I just told myself like I am enough, and I believed it, and I said it to myself every day, not in like a cocky way, but just like kind of affirming to myself that I am deserving of, you know, of all the good things in life and that kind of thing. I think that that's when I really started to shift things in my life. Just like getting to the point where, one, I wasn't as critical, but also I believed that I deserved better for myself.
Yeah. So you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. that was a good answer. So I know you said before, because I feel like a lot of polys, they do that where when they go through a struggle, like they'll keep it in, and they also try to deal it with themselves alone.
Yeah.
Right. So so when you go through stuff, you're more open to talk about your problems.
Yeah. Like I know we talked about earlier, but I've been going through a hard time with everything in COVID, because it's like, I don't know, I just feel like it's Groundhog Day. Like everything's the same every single day.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, our county's still closed. Like everything's pretty much, we're still in the purple tier.
Yeah.
So it sucks, you know, and it just like, I just remind myself, one, that I'm fortunate enough to have a job. I try to remind myself of the good things that I have and that, you know, I've worked towards, but I also have been, you know, I communicate with my mom and my dad now. I'm like, you know, I'm not in a good space right now. Like I was just talking to my mom like last week. I was like, I'm not in a good space. So we talk about it, and then I kind of assess the things that I can be grateful for, and then, I don't know, move from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I definitely feel that I'm more open to asking and talking to people if I need to.
Yeah.
Because before it was just like, I felt this pressure to like figure it out. Like, I got this on my own. I don't need anybody to help me. Like, and I also feel like it was a fear to ask because...
You feel like you're just afraid to be judged that something's wrong. Like,
yeah, I feel like that. But then also like, I think that because I internally had that expectation for myself, that I thought that my parents felt the same way, when in reality, like, the doors were always open for them, you know, for me to ask for help or seek, you know, counsel from my parents. But because I had that standard on myself, like, I alienated myself from, you know, getting the help that I needed. Okay. But
was it so? And I know you mentioned that you started taking therapy. Was that hard for you to go see a therapist and be like vulnerable and open up to him?
It's very hard. I remember the first day I was bawling. I was like, oh my gosh, like 10 minutes I just met the lady and I was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, it's fine, it's normal. Like, give me the Kleenex. Okay. Then this happened. No, but at first it was hard because I don't like being emotional. Yeah. I really hate it. I don't like crying. Like, I used to be a total crybaby when I was younger, but as I got older, it was just like, because I had that intense like independence and wanting to be, you know, like this strong person, I just like hate showing my emotions and being vulnerable. But I think that in like the last couple years, I've really been working on that. I'll cry in front of somebody maybe but I was talking to the therapist and she was saying that it's hard because it's a cultural thing where she would see a lot of, because she was a white lady, and so she would she would you know, give sessions to different patients, and it's hard for, you know, different ethnic groups because of the expectations that they have. So I think because of that cultural aspect, and then also me just wanting to be very independent, it made it very hard at first to talk about it. But once I started to talk about it, it was just like right now I'm just rambling, right? Yeah. So it feels good to talk about it though, and like not bottle everything up.
Of course, yeah.
But
because I feel like when you bottle up your emotions, it's like a ticking time bomb.
Oh, that's how I was when I was younger, where I wouldn't talk about it, and then out of nowhere, like something small would happen, and I would trigger me, and I would freak
all those
out.
Feelings they've been,
and everybody would be looking at me like, you are crazy, like what is going on? And I was just like, and you know, I had to unlearn that as well, just not bottling things up, and just, I mean, from the get-go, just being like, okay, how do we solve this issue?
Find a healthy way to like, whether it was through exercise or working out or talking to somebody, therapy. I think you know, I feel like for a lot of people, especially in the Polynesian community, like they don't see therapy as a solution because they have like this stigma towards therapy that I know in the Polynesian community, like therapy means, in their mind, they have the old way of thinking that therapy is only for people who are sick. Yeah. Right. So like,
I think that's like a stigma.
Like you only go to a therapist if you're crazy.
Yeah. I think that's a stigma not only in our community, but with like the older generation. Yeah. And I think that's what's so cool about our generation is that we're understanding that like, no, there's nothing wrong with getting therapy.
Exactly. Just like getting a personal trainer for health.
Exactly. Yeah. And everybody deserves to have a happy place up here and have a good quality of life. So if that's, you know, if getting therapy is what's going to help your quality of life, then do it because you deserve it. You know what I mean? And I think that if more people in our community would advocate for themselves and like understand that they deserve it and that the people around them deserve it and that it's okay, we would definitely make some gains, because it's just very stigmatized with everyone, with pretty much, I wouldn't say as a whole, but with a lot of the people that I know.
Yeah, can you share some of the things that therapy has helped? You don't have to go to details because I know it's like private, confidential, but like what are the principles that you learned or things that your therapist has helped you, that you know, different strategies or habits that or affirmations or things that you practice. Yeah. So I feel like, because what I want to do is like these people that's watching this right now, like, because I feel like I will let them know, hey, therapy's okay. Yeah. And there's a lot of balance in going to see a therapist. So I just want you to share your experience of how that helped you, so that way people can know more about it. Because I feel like if you don't know, you don't know. That's why our culture doesn't progress, because we don't have the knowledge, because we don't educate ourselves on these certain topics.
Exactly.
So I just want to share your experience of how therapy has kind of like helped you.
I think that probably the number one, which I've been talking about, but one of the number one things is just like the affirmations and saying things that are kind to yourself and being kind to yourself. And so for me, I don't know, before I started getting therapy, I always just thought like I didn't really know what self-care really was, you know what I mean? Like, I never looked into myself to realize like I didn't make myself accountable, I guess, for like my bad thoughts. So kind of just being able to take accountability for yourself, but then also being kind to yourself at the same time, recognizing that you have these things that you do. So if you talk poorly to yourself like I did, recognize that you do that and like just try to move from there, you know what I mean? Don't dwell on it, because for me, I feel like I had a lot of shame in my past, and like a lot of shame in just on a daily basis. We have shame for different things that we've done before, or things that other people have made us feel. But I think it was just me dwelling on things a lot. So I was taught to just like forgive myself, and in that way, that was like another way to be kind to myself, was be forgiving to myself, you know? So that, but I think, honestly, I know I keep saying this, the number one thing was like the affirmations. Because like I said earlier, like what comes in must come out. So if you, like we were saying, like if you eating like crap every day, like that's gonna manifest you physically. If you are feeding your mind just shitty things all day, you're being so mean to yourself, then of course like it's gonna manifest into like the way that you see yourself and the way that you carry yourself into the world. So I think that was probably just the number one thing, was shifting the way that I was treating myself, and also reminding myself each day that I'm deserving of good things. Because I felt for like a long time that I wasn't deserving of those things, but my therapist would always tell me that, you know, you deserve to have a good life, you know? And I think, I'm trying to think of some other ones, but the affirmations really helped me. Like, I don't know if it was just me personally, but those are great.
And then does it feel good to like open yourself up, to be vulnerable and trust? You know, you're giving your secrets to somebody. Does that feel good to share with your therapist?
Yeah, I think for me.
Let me ask you a question. Do you sometimes share things with your therapist that you wouldn't share with anybody else?
Oh yeah, but it's like, I think it's just like things that I did. I'm trying to think of an example. Like say.
Because I feel like we all have things like we will never, like we all have like a dark side. Like we have some dark secrets and shames, and like you said, you know, things we're ashamed of, and things we're not proud of, and we lock it up.
Right.
And that's always there. That always comes out of our subconscious. You know, when we go through negative times. So I feel like that to unlock that, I think there's a positive aspect of having a therapist. Like you can talk those feelings. And you're not talking to your family because I feel like we don't want to tell it to our parents or anybody we love, because we don't want that judgment. That's
exactly what I was going to say. So I think that the number one thing that helped me, because at first I was like, again, I don't like being vulnerable, I don't like telling my secrets, but I started to realize like there's no like conflict of interest where you're my family and I'll feel guilty and you're going to judge me because, you know, you've known me since I was a child, you know, that kind of thing, where it's like they're strictly there to as a professional. So it's like
there's no you don't have any attachment to this.
You aren't being leveraged, and you're not feeling like, you know,
you have to prove anything to that person.
You have to prove anything, or that your secrets are going to be, you know, spread around into your family. Not to say that my family would do that, but like you wouldn't feel this like
we wouldn't feel like something
paranoid.
Paranoia.
You would not feel that paranoia.
Please, I hope it doesn't share that when I told
you. Like, please don't, because like, you know, I feel like that's natural to feel that way, especially when you're with your family or friends. Like, okay, I want to tell you something, but like, please don't tell anybody else. But like, this person is professional, so it's like it is legally
you lose your job.
It is illegal if they
they go to jail if they break it.
They go to jail if they do that, but at the same time, it's like it feels good because, like I said, there's no conflict of interest. You can just like say everything unfiltered, and then we can find ways to kind of address that and move forward.
And they're not going to judge you.
They're not going to judge you.
Yeah, that's their purpose.
They'll probably call you out on your shit, but like
their job is to help.
Yeah.
They've done this for a long time.
Finding different coping strategies, finding like, okay, well, why are you having this pattern? Why have you been doing this, you know, for this amount of time? Okay, you're doing it because let's look at, everything. Let's look at the situation, the circumstances. And then from there, you just kind of figure out different ways to alleviate it, fix it. But I think that's the number one thing. It's like, you just know they won't judge you. Like,
okay, cool.
Okay, I can breathe.
All right.
So, okay.
I know I'm a weirdo, but this is...
Have you ever gotten therapy?
No, I've never gotten therapy. I've always wanted to, but I don't know. I guess like it's
kind of like scary, honestly.
Well,
like,
yes, I have. Well, I don't know if you call this therapy, but because before I used to be Catholic. Right, when
oh, okay.
I used to be Catholic before monk, because my family was Catholic before they became monks.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you know about Catholicism, but confession.
Yeah, like the.
So
Dang.
So that's how I was. So we had this cool priest, and he was hella cool. And I always had a good relationship with him. So when it came to confession time, that was my version of therapy. I trusted him.
Yeah.
So I would tell him
I feel like that counts though, because you're able to
yeah
at least say.
So I would tell him everything.
In a sense, you're able to kind of talk about
I would tell him everything, and I love my priest because he had a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, didn't you just do that last week? I know.
You're like, okay, I'm still learning. Okay.
All right.
I'm still young.
How many Hail Marys do you have to pray? Rosaries. Yes.
Oh my God.
But he always had good sense of humor. But I always felt comfortable enough with him because I felt like you said, it's just the feeling that I don't have to let it go.
Right.
So I'm not just hiding this dark secret within me.
Exactly.
And carrying it wherever I go, and that goes into everything I do, my confidence, my relationships.
For me, personally, when I would bottle things out, I would project on other people.
Yeah,
I won't even lie.
You project on other people, but you don't realize it holds you back.
Yeah, it holds you back.
You may not be aware of it, but there's a lot of things you wouldn't go into because of those insecurities that you have within yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But you hit it right on the nail. It's just you don't feel this paranoia.
Yeah.
And it feels like you can just be unfiltered without.
I know.
Feeling leveraged in any way.
And I don't lie. Every time after confessing, I always felt good.
Woo! I feel good. Thank you.
All right, boy, let's go. Let's go over here. New me. I'm a new man.
New year, new me.
I'm a new man, fresh. And I literally out there. I used to do it all the time. But then you mature and realize I can't keep doing this. I really have to let it go. And
but I think accountability is the first thing. I learned that a lot too, where if you're conscious that you're making those mistakes, that's good. Because if you're just carrying on and you're just running with your bullshit, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because once you reveal it and you talk about it, then you take a third, you look at yourself like a third party, and damn, I'm actually a bad person. I'm actually, fuck.
You're I need to.
I need some help. I'm actually making some bad choices. I'm actually hurting people. I'm actually hurting myself. Damn, I gotta stop this.
But that's the first step, though, is being able to identify. Okay, this is a problem right now. Problem. So let's go from here. So.
Was it alcoholics? The first step is. Is to admit you have a problem.
My name is.
My name is Will. I'm an alcoholic.
Exactly.
I actually said that in one of our Mormon activities.
They were look at the camera,
no,
in the office.
No, I just did it as a joke. Everybody started laughing.
Oh my God.
It was an ice-breaking moment.
Uh-huh.
And then, and everybody had to introduce themselves.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm from San Bruno. I love cooking. My
favorite
color. Windsor. So everybody did that. Then we came to me. Yeah, and for me, I'm different. Man, that's boring. I want to do different. That's kind of I
want to be different.
Yeah. So my name is Will. I'm an alcoholic. Everybody's and I'm for real, I'm an alcoholic. But anyways, nobody cared. They thought I was joking, but they didn't realize I wasn't joking. It was being real. Yeah, I think we're
good.
We got to the end. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the last thing I always ask everybody to do at the end of the podcast is just to share your thoughts.
Share my thoughts.
Yeah, yes, just
a message.
Yeah, a message. I know a lot of people are gonna watch this, and a lot of people are gonna. I know there's a lot of things you shared that was very powerful, and you talked about self-confidence. You talked about overcoming those negative beliefs and fears. You talked about self-esteem, self-identity. Expectations, everything, and especially what you go through as a female, Polynesian. And a lot of people watch it resonate with you and with your story. So I just want you to leave one little message with them?
I would say.
Yeah, kind of your little motivational talk right now.
I would probably say like, honestly, just like looking at just be yourself.
Yeah.
Have confidence in yourself. Like for me, I know how hard it was growing up and always being called like Balangi girl, and like not knowing where I fit within society, like especially growing up in an all white area. But I think that the number one thing that I stuck with and that I think it's important for other people to stick to is just to love yourself enough to be yourself around everyone, no matter what, have confidence in the person that you are, be kind to yourself, and feed yourself good thoughts. I'm trying to think what else. I think that would probably be my number one.
Just be yourself?
Yeah, be yourself.
Yeah.
I think that, oh my God, I'm not making it too much. I mean, I'm being extra. But yeah, just be yourself. And love the person you are. Be confident.
Good. All right. Thank you. Boom.
Oh my God.